Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I'll call this meeting to order. Our first order of business, public announcements. The Fairfield Farmers Market is open and is held on Wednesdays from 2 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The market is located at the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene on 81 Main Street. Number 2, the first quarterly payments of the 2018-2019 property taxes are due Friday, September 14th. Our second order of business is public hearings. First public hearing is to hear from the public on a proposed revision to the Land Use Ordinance 9.20, Adult Use Marijuana Business, under MRSA Title 28B. I will declare this public hearing open. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this, please come up to the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes to make your comments.
All right. I'm not really great with public speaking, so bear with me. My name is Mark Crockett. I'm one of the owners of 228 property on Norwich Walk Road, and I'm here to speak in favor of the ordinance and the zoning that's been so hard worked on, and adult use, which I've been involved with at the state of Augusta over the last couple of years. And I understand it's a very heated debate, and I want to thank Mr. Taylor, the councilor, Mr. Picchiotti, vice chair, Mr. Rowan, council secretary, Beverly, the councilor, and Courtney, I guess she's not here, for all the work and for the time and for your service. This is a very heated subject, and unfortunately, it was a very closely debated and closely voted on with respects to the margins of success. However, we did end up with a referendum that was passed. I've spent a lot of time in Augusta listening to different people's opinions and in municipality meetings, and at the end of the day, I've worked with law enforcement. I'm previously from law enforcement, drug law enforcement as well. And we have a lot of challenges and a lot of responsibilities and a lot of emotions. And I believe that the special committee that wrote the bill that just got passed, that wrote it so well and it's so comprehensive that the rules are not going to be substantially different. We've got some stuff to work on. There'll be some debating, but I do support it. And I believe that the will of the people should be supported. Though I had a fair amount of arguments with the governor as well. He had his own personal opinion and his right to veto. Eventually the rules were rewritten, or the bill was rewritten and written well, and the legislators obviously overrode his veto. And we're moving forward with the next step of rule writing. The hard thing for me is I have children too, and I don't want to be looked at as the local guy that doesn't care. I was an athlete in Maine and grew up in Maine, and I spent a fair amount of time in central Maine, so I obviously want to be recognized and respected for the career I've chosen in the cannabis industry, and I've learned a lot about it. My biggest challenge right now is that we do have a bill that passed. It is legal in the state of Maine. It's legal in many other states. It's illegal in the whole country of Canada. And yet we've got a lot of work to do still, because we have a lot of illegal activity going on, that there are no quality control standards, there's no public safety involved, there's a lot of black market that's going on, and I believe this is going to give us a chance to work with being able to resolve some of those problems and put in place something that we can manage and tax and make professional. I am concerned that we need to spend money and time educating our children, but I've been involved in Just Say No, and I'm familiar with the DARE program, and I personally, and I'm not looking for a debate, but I don't believe it's succeeded. There's a lot of evidence that it hasn't. I was deeply concerned about roadside testing. I worked with the former sheriff of Cumberland County, Mark Dion, who was part of the special committee. We went back and forth with law enforcement a long time, trying to come up with a solution, and we eventually abandoned the idea of social clubs. And that was part of the referendum, but we didn't think we were ready for it until we could come up with a way to do some roadside testing. So we just figured that's the best way to deal with it for now. Again, we've had a lot of debates about what the best thing to do is, but we all acknowledge the fact that the people in Maine want to have available adult use cannabis. I personally grew up in Maine, like I said. I've seen what alcoholism has done to our society with bars on every corner and multiple bars in every town. And I've worked with alcoholics to help them with rehab. I've worked with opiate addiction. So I just want you to understand that I believe that the municipalities are doing the best they can to work within some of the area they don't totally understand. The special committee's done a great job at the state level. And I do support adult use. I believe that was the will of the people, and I'd like to participate and continue to participate as well as in your community. So thank you for your efforts and time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Reza Naiman. I'm the new superintendent of MSAD 49. Just want to get this opportunity to come in and introduce myself. I also wanted to express my support for any potential moratorium because as a school district for MSA 49, one of the key things we talked about is the fair representation. And I do want to have an opportunity to have representation from school so much in regard to the implementation to address some of the issues and impact that may have on our children as well as the community at large. So I wanted to express my support on that and as well as introduce myself to you and wish you a great night.
I just wanted to ask if, how do you say that, the marijuana is in production now, where the other place when it smelled a lot, but I don't,
Can you-
I live right near the
you
new place, and I haven't smelled it.
Direct all comments to the chair, please.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not used to this either. I just wanted, I haven't smelled that heavy smell that I did from down the road, as I had, and I haven't smelled it at all, so I don't know if they are not producing it or manufacturing it, whatever they do. Is that why, or has it not started up yet?
We can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Christine, I have copies for you. Great. I'm gonna give you the stack back. 1, 2, 3. That was on that table.
Good evening. I'm Senator Scott Searway, the District 16. I represent Fairfield, Waterville, Winslow, Benton, Albion, and Clinton, and Unity Township. For those that are interested in this marijuana legalization issue, I've fought this, well, since I became a DARE officer, I guess, and also in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement 30 years. I'm still training other officers to be DARE officers. And I just wanted to give you the facts. If you notice, I handed you a factual paper, and I've handed you a factual piece that I'm going to read. I just hope that you take this in consideration and to read it, because I've had experiences in other towns where they just make a quick decision and they don't read these things. And I think it's very important to look at all the facts, especially facts, not just hearsay. When you hear someone mention that DARE doesn't work and his idea, there was no facts to that. I'm showing you facts here, and I know that there's a lot to consider. I believe there are a number of factors that need to be considered when opting in or out of marijuana. I will discuss some of these, and I hope you will give them your attention. When our state and towns begin to accept tax dollars from the sale of marijuana, I believe we will become, in a sense, an accomplice in an illegal drug dealing operation. Because, let's not forget, this drug is still illegal on the federal level. Federal agents still can come in and confiscate and prosecute. We will be making ourselves a responsible party in a time when families are struggling immensely with the repercussions of a drug epidemic. Do we want to make town government a responsible party in condoning marijuana use? By making ourselves a responsible party, this puts the town on the hook for any short or long-term health effects people may experience after smoking marijuana. In particular, the impact on future generations will impact us all. Many folks have already planned out where they would like to see the revenue from marijuana sales dedicated. I believe it is dangerous to plan on this unreliable and illegal revenue source. Further, many banks will not accept funds from marijuana sales, leading to large amounts of cash in the community, which could increase violent crime. The committee did not discuss the effects of THC on a person. The number of pieces of testimony were submitted from various individuals during public hearings regarding the negative effects of THC on a person, including a person under the age of 26, specifically brain development issues, but was not discussed. We have kids in this state who know far more than they should about drugs because of the choices of their parents and their family members. By playing a part in creating laws to implement marijuana legalization, we are sending the message that the state has ensured that marijuana use is safe. That is no big deal. This is both a dangerous and inaccurate message to send to our youth. I'm speaking for the kids. If you look at our vote, when they mentioned the vote was for the public and they voted for this, it was 50.02 was the vote. It was mostly from Portland. In this community and Waterville and all my communities in my district voted against this. So for us to make a decision and say, yes, that would be against what our community voted for. The other part of this is in Colorado's experience. I've talked to people from Colorado. I travel. I go to DARE conferences all over the United States. And I'll tell you that the people that come from Colorado all tell me the same thing is happening. They have to hide their money. These people that sell the marijuana hide their money. They do not give it the tax money. And they buy other properties up, and they buy other items, and they hide the money. And guess what? It pushes the values up so that people, regular people, cannot afford homes and properties in your area. Not to mention that
Time's
President Trump has actually talked about grants, federal grants for drug-free zones. And if you go and put this in, you will not be a drug-free zone. And you will actually possibly lose federal monies. So you have to think about all these factors. Once you throw a rock in the pond, it's gonna make a ripple effect. And for a code enforcement officer to hold up and to be able to enforce marijuana issues, the police have a hard time. Do you think a code enforcement officer is gonna have fun with that? I don't think that's gonna happen either. So really, consider this. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I'm Shelley Rudnicki, and I live in Fairfield Center. And I have dealt with the last year with an odor coming from the facility below me. Now, yes, they've moved up the hill. Now I just feel like I'm going to be sandwiched in between two places because there's nothing stopping them from putting it back in below me. It has affected my business. My business is off by 25% this year because of the odor. Because I sell used cars, and when people come in and look at vehicles, and they open a car, and that's what they're smelling. My cars are clean. My cars have, I've had to spend extra money just to make sure that the odor's not settling in. And from everything that I've read and seen and heard and talked to people about, we're all having the same issue, is that smell. And the neighbors below me have had to put up with it for the last year as well, a little over a year. It has made me physically ill on occasions when it's so bad. I have lived in my home for 25 years, and it should not affect me. My thing is, I don't care what you do in your backyard, I don't care. But the problem is when it starts to affect the neighborhood, and that's what it's done. Now, one of your council members here has gotten upset with me because I reminded her of the fact that she was out picketing herself against a medical facility being next door to her. And that happened 8 years ago, in 2010. But my problem is if she's picketing on that because it's next to her, it's okay to go in my backyard, but it's not okay to go in her backyard. That's the difference that I look at. I'm speaking of it on an emotional level, somebody that is next door to it, somebody that it's affected my business, who's gonna pay and help me with that 25% that my business is off because of that. Okay, those are the type of things I look at. You also have to look at where the one in the village, okay, because we are a village, it's up on that hill, on that rise. Do you know it takes 10 minutes for a police officer to get out to my house and when there's an accident? My sister was in an accident in front of my house. Last year she was rear-ended. It took 10 minutes for an officer to get out there. What's it gonna take when there's accidents out there because people aren't paying attention? Well, are our kids not worth the fact that we have school buses and already there's distracted drivers on that road? And then you add this? How about doing a feasibility study on the traffic that's gonna be out there? How about waiting a little bit to see what's gonna happen? Let's do some studies. Why are we jumping into this? It feels like this has just come right up and we're not advertising it well at all to let people know to be here. Because I will tell you right now, if people actually had a little more of a heads up, you'd probably have more people here. I'd like to see us advertise it a little bit better. The school actually uses robocalls. Why can't we do something like that? So I'm just asking you to take a look and maybe put a moratorium for 6 months to see before we jump into this and see what it's gonna have for an impact on the rest of the community. And I will remind you that in the town of Fairfield, Fairfield voted down retail marijuana sales. They voted down the adult use by 300 votes. So it did not pass in Fairfield. It was voted down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
The sign-up sheet is gone.
Where's the sign-up sheet?
Subterfuge amongst the... Good evening. My name is Robert Cezak. I'm a citizen here in Fairfield. I'm actually before you as a person who did vote no in the referendum, but that's because at that time that law was poorly written and I didn't agree with the substance of the law. But now, where we have the state legalization of the marijuana, I am for proceeding with this ordinance. I've read the ordinance. I find that it's covered most of the bases that are important to have covered. You've looked at smells, you've looked at rules and regulations, you have denied social clubs, which I find to be a good thing. And as you're going forward, I think that this ordinance shows a good sense of priority for the people. Along with that is your licensing fees. I believe that those fees are substantial enough to only bring in people who are serious business people with a serious sense of what they are doing and a mature sense of what they're doing. And if there are any extra legal problems, that licensing fee will help to cover that cost of police, which I actually feel that there won't be any illegal activities or accidents occurring from that. So I'm here to support the ordinance. I want to thank you for the hard work you put into it. So when the time comes, I hope that you'll vote yes in favor of this ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening. Kevin Violet, Chairman of the Planning Board here in Fairfield. Looking at this document, just first time I've seen it, I see the fees are actually quite a bit less than we had even reviewed or recommended. The one issue we have sometimes if and when the town ever issues a permit for such a thing is going to be the complaints and the reviews that come in front of our board. If there's a parking problem, if there's a police problem, I would like to see any fees you do be annual renewable fees like a liquor license. That way, if there's issues, there's traffic, there's problems, you get to decide if you're going to reissue that permit or that license as in liquor. So please implement that, because we already have parking problems at facilities in Fairfield that went through the ordinance, met the parking requirements, yet we have major parking problems certain days on 201. We don't get an annual review with that. We don't get to reissue permits for that. Please make this one manageable for the town of Fairfield. Thank you.
Hi, George Hofgren. I live up on Nice Corner, obviously town resident. And thanks for putting the word out, I guess, that this was going to happen, because it brought a lot of people here, and that's good. We're starting our videography of the meetings. Although I do feel that it's unfortunate that regular town meetings don't generate more attendance. I don't think this is a good way to go about generating attendance. I think that anybody who was a part of the process this far knew that a lot of people would show up over this over this issue. And I think that if a questionnaire went out in Fairfield as to the validity of this, I think it would be probably 96% of people being against the ordinance or against the inclusion of marketable marijuana in Fairfield. So I don't think it's a solution to generate town meetings by taking on a divisive topic such as this. Now, I respect the fact that the town, not necessarily on behalf of merchants, but is taking it on their own to explore this issue and whatnot. But then again, as a taxpayer, especially someone who currently is in arrears on their taxes, I'm not sure that it's really worth the amount of work that I have to do here at Circle K in order to pay you to flesh this all out, when other southern towns such as South Berwick have much better resources and really have to deal with it because it's landed in their lap. I think the last thing I want to say, I see that the town attorney is here, so last thing I want to say is I have serious reservations as to your ability to indemnify yourself or us as the town vis-a-vis this issue. It's obviously clear from the Controlled Substance Act. I was born and remember this country well before the Controlled Substance Act, that there is a federal position whether or not it's being enforced. So until something streamlined can be arrived at by other towns in the state, which I think we would be reading about in the media, I'm not sure that it's something that the town should be paying for to this level, and I'm sure you're taking it to the farthest possible level of legality that you can to cover yourselves. But I don't think that no matter how well drafted it is, that you have the actual ability to indemnify yourself when you are stating clearly that the federal government says it's not a commerciable product. So, yeah, I would just hope that anyone who sees this, if they're in the town, come down to regular town meetings that include such issues as speed bumps and fares and whatnot, and we get some inclusion, and that you possibly exercise a little more prudence as to whether or not this really needs to rise to the level of a town groupthink, which I'm not sure it does. But so I am against it, by the way. I'm against smoking. I'm against controlled substance usage. And I will point out that because I work at Circle K, I happen to know that the state legal limit for tobacco products is now 21. It sends a slightly mixed message to youth that do live in the town that might rebel against that specific law and go out and get themselves pot just before they can. So we actually could be creating a little problem for ourselves. Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure, can you sign, George? Can you sign, please?
Find a pen. There we go.
Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak at this time?
My name is Charles Matthews. I'm a member of the planning board, and we've worked on this for, I don't know, for about a year, and I'm still not clear on what all this means. I mean, we say a retail facility. Now, is that a building, like a storefront downtown? It's out of somebody's front porch? What do we mean by a retail facility? I mean, we haven't defined that I can see anyway. I don't know if anybody has any definitions. I think like when we work at the planning board, that we know that after a certain number of years, we're not gonna be there, and when the new people come along, they're gonna say, well, what did they mean by that? So we usually put a definition for everything, like retail facility for marijuana, what is a manufacturing marijuana? Where can that go? What kind of a facility do you have? Inspections, what do we have for inspections? And also, I noticed that it says in here that you can have only one per person on under Article D. Under Section 4, it says you can only have one permit per person, but on Article 24, it says you have to have you can have an original permit for everyone that you have. So one place you're saying you can only have one, the other place you say you can have more than one. So I think we weren't really clear in the planning board when we were putting it together, because it's almost like, well, that's taboo, you can't really get into that, that's like sacred territory, and so, I don't think the planning board has really looked over what you're proposing. We sent you our proposal, but we figured it would come back to us to make changes and tweak it, because usually when we make the ordinance out, we make it out so that future people coming to the town, they can look up in the definition what a retail marijuana facility is. Is it a separate building? Is it a downtown storefront? Can it be out of somebody's house? Is it gonna be a separate facility? And also, it doesn't really state how many of these facilities we can have in town. I mean, can we have 10, 50, or as many as people want to have? And how about cultivation areas? How big an area you got to have? What about inspections? Who's going to inspect all the marijuana before it's sold to people? Make sure that it's qualified, and where's the inspecting building going, and who's going to take care of all that? Those are just some of the questions I have, is that I don't think we've answered all the questions, like where are we going to put it, what are we going to do with it, how many are we going to have? So those are the things that concern me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak?
I stole the pen. Yeah. My name's John Jobber. I've been here before. The thing that surprised me a little bit about this, it's the fourth quarter. It's like this bill is just coming in front. The planning board had this and has been working on this, worked diligently on this for months and months and months, and they came with recommendations. And now we're coming to this point here, then these people are coming out of the woodwork, and our poor state senator, who is so misinformed and so insulting of us, I mean, it's just amazing that he could even do that. But we are building a state-of-the-art facility. We have taken a junkyard, and I've convinced my partners and other people, other investors, to come to this community because they're open-minded and they want to invest in it. We've invited all the planning board, the city council, we invited the planning board, we invite anybody. Like Shelley, I've lived there, I've had that building for 25 years. I've never met this lady. She has so many complaints or so many problems. If she would come to us, she would understand that the smell cannot come from our facility. The code enforcement officer is here, and she can tell you everything that leaves our building has to be filtered. There is marijuana grow facilities around our neighborhood. We are outdoor. I also had in the back of our facility an outdoor grow. But because of her and because of her complaints through city people, we did not do an outdoor grow there for that reason. So even though I've never met her and kind of met her face to face today, we will work with her, city council, planning board, whatever it is to make it whatever's best for the city. The chief police is here. The only time that the police have come to my facility is in my stupidity of setting off my alarms. They've never had to come up for some marijuana incident. And then the age of the people in our facility, in our stores, and our medical facilities is in the mid-40s. Those are the people these days. And he talks about it as a drug and it doesn't do good things. He doesn't say anything about the good things that it does, the medication, how it's helped people, and all of these positive things. He's got his records and he's got all that, but I'm sure it's got nothing on it. And unfortunately, as a state, I'm so surprised a state representative or state senator doesn't intelligently research both sides. But he hasn't. So that's what it is. The last thing I'm going to say is we are building a state-of-the-art facility. We are building something in Fairfield that nobody in the state will have. In controls, anybody who's seen it, and everyone's welcome to see it. The fire chief has come out numerous times because he has to inspect all this stuff. But we're building a processing facility, a grow facility, a commercial kitchen, so we can control everything. So we know what's going into our products. You'll know what's coming out. Everything is going to be tested. Everything is going to be child-proofed. Everything, we're trying to take this to the end of it. So anyway, I know I'm over my time, but thank you very much. And like I said, I invite the city to come, or anybody to come. Please come see our facility. come see what we do, how we prevent these smells from happening, and any other problems, come to us and we'll work on it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time?
Tom Gould, the police chief. I had no plans to come up here and speak, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. Number one, regarding the DARE program. I taught the DARE program in the very early 90s, 1992, I think, is when I was trained. I think Senator COA trained me. And it was extremely effective. It was a very, very good program. But like all other programs, the funding for it was cut and cut and cut and cut. And when it had been stripped down to a point where it was getting hard to teach, everybody started pointing at it and saying, look, it's not effective anymore. I think it really was effective. So I'll fight you on that statement that you made. Number two is I sent a memo to you guys earlier this year regarding this, and it covered the DRE, some of the costs that would be involved, and I wanted to train a DRE. My hopes when I wrote that memo to you was that the DRE would get somewhere around 5 or 6 drug OUIs a year, every 6 months is kind of what I was hoping for. So far to date, I think he's been a DRE for a little over 40, 45 days, and I think he's done 6 or 7 cases, right? 6 that I'm aware of. So he's way ahead of where we had planned him to be. And that is a little bit time consuming. Those cases take 5 to 6 hours to write up versus a regular OUI that'll take an hour or 2. And like I said, I don't have any direction that I'm going in on this. This is a decision you guys need to make. I just wanted you aware of that figure. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak this time on our first public hearing? Seeing none, I declare the public meeting closed. Our second public hearing is to hear from the public on proposed revisions to the Fire Protection and Prevention Ordinance. I declare this public hearing open. Anyone from the town that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Declare the public hearing closed. Number 3, to hear from the public on proposed revisions to the Land Use Sidewalk Display Ordinance. Declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Seeing none. Declare that public hearing closed. Our third order of business, the public may speak to the council on any item or reserve the right to speak on a specific item that's on the meeting agenda when the meeting is addressed. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on any further items in this meeting? Moving on. Our fourth order of business, reports from staff and committees. Our town manager's report.
So on August 27th, I attended a group meeting in Waterville at the chamber office. Kimberly Lindloff had organized it between the towns of Waterville, Winslow, and Fairfield. DEP was seeking current or future environmental projects directly linked to the Kennebec River within our 3 communities. The program is called a supplemental environmental project. Basically, this allows for positive local impact for communities when they assess a fine to a company that self-reported a violation.
When she talks,
We're going to pause for a mass exodus at the moment.
So, was it something I said? So basically, what has happened is Pan Am had self-reported a DEP violation, and therefore will potentially have some funds for projects that they can pick and choose, actually, what the projects go towards. We didn't have a combined project, but the town did submit a project, and Waterville submitted a couple. We have requested funds for closed-circuit TV camera system for our sewer system, so that we have the ability to inventory our sewers and do inspections in conjunction with a lot of the work that we've been doing with our stormwater overflow process. And then on the 28th, I attended KV Cog's Board of Directors meeting. I also have submitted 2 brownfield grant applications for site assessments to be done at 31 Lawrence Ave and 142 Oakland Road. These are the 2 properties we own that we're looking at tearing down to do parking lots for. If we're successful, the funds would cover the cost of the full assessment that we need regarding potential site contaminations, such as asbestos. And then there's another round that we could potentially apply for the mitigation of that. So I've filed both of those applications. On the 29th, First Park Design Review Committee met for the first time in a long time to actually approve an expansion permit application for Maine General Maine General Orthopedics offices. They are putting in 34 more parking stalls in the back of their facility because they're so busy. So it was a great test of the new covenants that was recently put into place that was loosened. The entire meeting took 45 minutes and everything was approved, and they were able to construct within this year's construction season. So that worked really well. On the 31st, bids for the regional training facility were received. Out of 8 different companies that did attend our pre-bid meeting, only 3 submitted bids. Bids ranged from $1,062,133 to $1,250,024. These bids are still being reviewed, and we will continue to keep council updated as we go forward and look at this and look at potential funding pieces. So, and then also this morning, I attended Central Maine Growth Council's Board of Directors meeting. There are some great things happening within the foreign trade zone that is covered by this region. Some of it is a direct result of the new tariffs that have been recently taken effect, and we continue to work on great economic development projects in the area with hopefully some announcements coming soon, and as well as on workforce development. So, and that's it for me.
Thank you.
Just for the minutes, point of clarification, the bids were opened on September 7th.
Committee, we're all set there.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Wrong date.
Hey, our 5th order of business, to waive the reading of and accept the minutes as printed or amended for meeting number 2018-14 held on August 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. Our 6th order of business, treasurer's warrant. To approve the treasurer's warrant number 16 in the amount of $612,996.87, and warrant CF1 in the amount of $33,000.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. Our 7th order of business, take action on the following items of business. Order that the town council hereby adopts the sidewalk display ordinance as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item 18-63, order that the town council hereby signs a warrant for special town meeting municipal election to be held on November 6, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item 18-64, order that the town council hereby designates an official voting delegate and an alternate for the Maine Municipal Association annual business meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Voting delegate. believe that was our,
It was me last year with, Jeff Newbauer was our alternate at the time. So it happens on Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, at convention.
So why change in midstream? I know.
It has to get reappointed every year.
Well,
that's
I
all.
nominate you. How about that? Can I do that?
But you have to appoint 2 people, so yes, you can.
Okay.
do we have anyone else that'll be available?
Is anybody else
possible?
going to convention?
How about John?
I'm available.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm going to the LPC meeting at the convention anyway, but whoever wants to go can go.
Right.
You
John
can have
and
2
Michelle?
alternates.
I don't think you're limited, so if we don't, only 1 vote's gonna count, so.
Well, if John can't make it, then Aaron
Aaron will
can,
be
right?
there,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, good. Sounds good to me.
I've got room for 1 alternate.
1 alternate.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we can make John the official alternate, and then if something
Need be-
happens,
Yeah.
Something happens, we can amend things. All right, so
So we did that.
with
All in
that,
favor, right?
we've designated,
Gotta vote on it.
we designated Michelle as the primary voting and John as an alternate. Is there any objections to that amendment to the, there are no objections. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 16-65, order that the town council hereby approve a property tax abatement for map 005, lot 047-013 for the 2015-2016 tax year for the amount of $401.45 due to an error in assessment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. Item 16-66, order that the town council hereby approves a property tax abatement for map 005, lot 047-013 for the 2016-2017 tax year in the amount of $414.40 due to an error in assessment.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. Moving on to our 8th order of business, council workshop and other business. All right, with that, Beverly, do you have anything?
Yes, actually, I do. I go to the Newell Church on, well, it's on Newell Street, and I was there on Tuesday, as a matter of fact, and I got a big kiss and a big hug when I went into the church to talk to the ladies. They're very pleased about Western Avenue and the new signs that are blinking. They're saying they're not being run over anymore, and people are not trying to run them down on the crosswalk. And they're very happy with the council people, and they're very happy with the signs, and everybody's just generally very happy, so. I was pleased, and they thanked me and said that, you know, they think we're doing a great job, so I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
They're a great bunch of people anyways, so.
Anything else?
No.
John?
Yeah, actually, I've got an inquiry, and it's a situation, go out to the Fairfield Grange, out in Fairfield Center, in the house next door, and I believe we had deeded that or had given that to the Fairfield Grange, but there's something, well, there's something in there, the house is a condemned, it's vacant type of house, and they would like us to deed it over so they could tear it down and make a parking lot there, which I think was originally our idea in the first place.
To make a parking lot out
was
of
to
it,
make a
yes.
parking lot out of it. They would like it so that they could take it, tear it down, and they'll make a parking lot out of it. So I'm not sure how we, go about doing that at this point. But
I know at one time we had made some substantial inquiries with the bank
Yeah.
that owns it.
Right.
I don't know where that ultimately ended up. But I think there was,
Yeah, I don't either, you're right.
Should we probably
We
revisit
actually
that?
own that property. The bank gave it to us for the cost of their property taxes that were assessed to them for that year.
Okay.
That is actually the property, 142 Oakland Road, that I just submitted a brownfields application for the assessment on asbestos and lead and what have you, so to get ready to have that demolished to turn it into a
Okay,
parking
well, the
lot.
Grange indicated that they were willing to tear it down,
Right.
take that expense off of us, but.
But
So
if it
the
has
town
as-
would then have to, in turn, deed the property to the Grange.
Right.
But if it has asbestos in it, then they have to have special
And there's
people
a
come in
concern
to-
about that property with some shared utilities with the fire department. Nobody's real sure where their sewer goes, I think, is what, one of the issues we had, which is one of the other reasons why it made it convenient for us to have that. So we were looking, the municipality is looking at turning it into a parking lot. The problem at this point is simply funding.
would it be possible to get a quick memo or something for our next meeting about the feasibility of transferring it with respect to those issues of
Sure.
shared utilities and whatnot? And then,
Yeah, I think, it, you know,
then we can
and,
present that to
you
the
know,
Grange.
at least mesh with the Grange a little bit so that they have an idea what's going on and
Does
that, because they need that area, I guess, for parking lot.
Does
for
it
parking.
have to be tested for asbestos too?
For the
as well?
municipality, yes. We are required to do that.
And that's a
Any
cost, right?
Any contractor that is going to tear down that facility would be required to dispose of asbestos within a facility properly.
With the cost.
There's always a cost with the
Yes.
disposal of asbestos.
That's right.
Which is the reason for the assessment piece to be done to see if asbestos is even in the building.
Okay.
It is suspected due to the home structure, the existing home structure, and its age, that more than likely we'll find either asbestos tiles or what have you in the bathroom. And sometimes those costs are not very large. But the municipality would be able to get the grant. If we were going to give it to the Grange, they're a nonprofit, so they may be eligible for a brownfields project as well.
Right.
I would also point out that while we're waiting for this grant and all of that, maintaining a condemned property is one of the few things the town can do to directly incur liabilities. And if there's an organization that wants to take that liability off our hands and has a reasonable plan to do what we otherwise want to see done with it, I think it's worth exploring.
Yep. Yep, so I'll have something for you for
Okay.
your next meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you very
Great.
much.
Thank you. Anything else, John?
That's it.
Aaron?
Well, I just want to thank everybody who came out here today to discuss the retail marijuana ordinance. It was really good to actually see people come and voice their opinions to their government, and I want to see more of that on other issues. But I really want to thank the people who came out today. Certainly have a lot to think about. And I also want to remind people that there will be another hearing on this issue on September 26th.
Correct.
So if somebody did not feel like they got heard today, or feels like there's information they want to give us in response to something they heard today, you have that opportunity.
All right.
That's it.
That's it.
We're gonna
All right.
recess and then.
Well, since Aaron pretty well summed up what I was going to comment on, we will move on from there. And the next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be held on Wednesday, September 26, 2018. And at this time, the council will recess to sign all documents that require signatures. And following that, we will be having an executive session. So, with that, do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're in recess.
That's
It's not.